Wel, prynhawn da pawb and croeso y coginio ar y hyd. Hello everyone and welcome once again to the Happy Cymru Cook Along. My name is Richard and as you know, today is the second day of us celebrating National Allergy Awareness Week. And even though they're focusing this year on hay fever, which I don't know about you, I'm suffering with quite badly at the moment, we are going to be looking at food allergies, in particular looking at gluten-free and dairy-free recipes. And today I've got a gluten and dairy-free mac and cheese, which I promise you is absolutely, in the words of my West Walian friends, cowin lush. Now, as with all of the cook-alongs, now that I've got my computer bits all sorted, I just need to quickly go and wash my hands and then I will be back in the room. So this is your 20-second warning, looking at my imaginary clock, and I will be back in the room. So go and grab yourself a cup of tea, ready to watch this afternoon's gluten and dairy-free mac and cheese. I promise you it's absolutely delicious. I'll be back in a couple of moments. Well, prynhawn da, if you have just joined us, I'm just quickly washing my hands and I will be back in the room. This afternoon, it's the second day of our Allergy Awareness Week cook-alongs, where we are doing gluten and dairy-free recipes, and this afternoon we are going to be doing an American mac and cheese, which I promise you is absolutely delicious. And I've just realised that I have spelt cheese wrong on my notice board, so I won't be making any more references to that, so I do apologise. I can't even get an E out of the can you see I've put a double S rather than a double E. I don't know where my mind was thinking, so apologies about that. The session has already gone downhill because I've spelt mac and cheese incorrectly, but I'm going to start off now with my official part, and it'll go downhill even further than it just has. So my official part this afternoon is prynhawn da pawb and croeso once again to the Happy Cymru Cook Along. My name is Richard and heddiw today we are going to be making some wonderful mac and cheese with a double E and not a double S, and it's going to be gluten and also dairy free. So let's get cracking. I'm hoping I can now hide that because if I press that button just there, the recipe card has just come up. Yes, it has. And I can just press another button just there and my recipe card has come up on my screen just there. And you can see that this mac and cheese, rather than making a traditional sort of cheesy sort of sauce, we're trying to infuse it with lots and lots of vegetables, because obviously as part of that Eat Well guide, we're recommended to have at least 5 portions. And I'm going to serve my sort of mac and cheese with a lovely side salad today, and I promise you it is absolutely delicious. So as we are using a butternut squash, the recipe card does say 500 grams of frozen butternut squash. I went to the supermarket yesterday thinking I would quite easily get a bag of frozen butternut squash, but they didn't have any in stock, and I couldn't be bothered to drive over the other side of Llantrisant down into Cardiff to get some from that shop that has got lots of foods from the farm, the frozen sort of product sort of shop. So I'm going to use a fresh one, but that brings me nicely onto preparing a fresh butternut squash. Butternut squash, I've already started to prepare this, right? Are the most hardest vegetables to prepare in the whole wide world. If you try peeling it, you're going to be there forever, right? And I've seen so many accidents over the years with people sort of cutting their hands and things like that. So if you're going to prepare it, I've got a couple of handy ways of doing it, right? I've already split this. I'm going to do a half quantity to what we're doing today, and you can see that when I cut it, I've got one bit which is the top part that has got all of that lovely orange sort of flesh, and then you've got the seedy part at the bottom, right? I'm going to show you 2 ways of preparing it. 1 in the microwave and 2 in the oven. And doing it in the oven gives you a lovely roasted sort of flavour, and I promise you it's absolutely lasses yam. So let me just show you how to prepare these. I'm just going to grab myself just a little sort of waste bowl. We're going to start off with the bottom part to start with, and obviously I've got all of those seeds. So the first thing, we're going to roast the bottom part. I'm just going to scoop out all of the seeds just like that. Only needs to be done roughly, right? So you're getting rid of some of that flesh. What you could do, you could also roast those seeds and have those sort of as roasted butternut squash seeds, and they are really nice sort of as well. But I'm just going to take out all of that little bit of sort of fibrousy sort of flesh that is around the seeds, just as so. So you can see that I've got that bit just in there, and I've sort of scooped it out as best as possible, as much as possible. Then this is a little bit dangerous, right? But all that you're going to do with a sharp knife, you're just going to cut lines and then squares of little sort of butternut squash, right? So I'm just cutting it down just like that, very, very carefully. If you're a younger person, you will have to ask an adult to help you with this, right? And then all we're going to do is we're going to do a crisscross sort of shape, so you end up with little squares just as so, right? So then all that we're going to do is we're going to pop it onto a little roasting tin. I've got a little bit of vegetable oil just here. Drizzle over a little bit of vegetable oil. If you've got a pastry brush, you can brush it all over, right? I'm just going to spread it just as so. Then literally I've got some mixed herbs just there. I'm going to sprinkle over some mixed herbs, and then that goes into the oven about 190 to 200 degrees centigrade. That's gas mark 4 sort of stroke sort of 5, and then that just roasts in the oven for about 20 to 30 minutes depending on how fast your oven is, and you end up with a lovely roasted sort of butternut squash just like that. And what that means is that the skin is nice and soft, and then you can easily remove all of the flesh just like that, see? So you don't have to start peeling it. So I'm going to come back to that in a moment, because the other way of doing it is once again to just do those little lines just as so, those little crisscross sort of lines just like that, and then that goes into a little glass bowl onto a microwavable plate, a little bit of water, and then literally all that you do is pop it in the microwave for 6 to 8 minutes. Halfway through, turn it round, bring it out, and then just let it steam in its own juices. And again, I've got one that I cooked earlier. You end up with your cooked butternut squash just like that. So that's the easiest ways of cooking your butternut squash. I particularly like it when it's roasted, right? So I'm going to stick with the roasted one for today. And as I said, all I can now do is, now that it's lovely and roasted, you end up being able to scoop it off just like that, right? In actual fact, the skin becomes so soft, you can actually use the skin as well if you want to, particularly if you're making soups or if you're going to blend it. So I'm not too worried if I get pieces of butternut squash with skin on this afternoon, because we're going to be blending this dish. So you can see that that is my skin just there, so that can go into my food waste, and I've got all that lovely flesh of my butternut squash. And when I first made this dish, I was thinking, is it going to work? Is it going to taste like mac and cheese if I'm using butternut squash? And believe me, it really, really does. It makes a lovely, smooth sort of sauce. So that's a little bit on how to prepare your butternut squash. Then, all that we've got, I've already prepared some gluten-free macaroni, and you can easily find that now in the supermarkets. And I've prepared about 100 grams, which is enough for one person, or 2 little small portions that I'm making this afternoon. So once you've done your pasta, you're then ready to make your sauce once your butternut squash is sort of nice and soft. So I'm just going to make ease and quickly make this delicious sort of butternut squash sort of sauce. So let me pop that just behind me. So I've got all of my butternut squash just in there, and then on there you can see that we've got some other ingredients. The first thing that you need is you need some onion. Now if you're cooking your butternut squash, couldn't remember what I was thinking then, butternut squash in the microwave, just add an onion with it and it'll cook naturally, right? Otherwise you can do it in a saucepan. I've just got half an onion, because if you remember I'm doing a half mixture today. So that's already been cooked off in the microwave, so I've got that just there. Then we need to add 7 dessert spoons of water. As I said, I'm doing a half quantity, so I'm going to add 3.5 to 4, right? So I've got my bog standard sort of water just there. It is bog standard. It's Chateauneuf de Taff, right? So we've got 4, and I'm going to add 1 for luck, just like that, and that all goes in, and this is going to make a lovely creamy sort of sauce. It's really, really delicious. Then we have got our mustard and our spices, right? So I'm going to use a little bit of Dijon mustard. If you're not a fan of mustard, then don't add it, right? Because in the stock cube you will have some mustard, or if you can't have mustard, then just leave that out, because some people do have an allergy to mustard as well, but I quite like it in there. Just gives a little bit of flavour. I just so happen to be using sort of Dijon mustard. If you want to use whole grain or English mustard, then use that instead, right? Really doesn't matter. Then we have got our stock cube. So for my stock cube, it's half a stock cube, as I'm doing for a full quantity, so I just need 1/4 of a stock cube. That's going to add all of our lovely salt. Then I've just noticed that I need some smoked paprika, and I'm hoping, bear with me 1 second, I've got some smoked paprika just over here. I knew I'd forget something. As well as the 2 S's, I forgot to get my smoked paprika. So I'll get my smoked paprika out, and I'm just going to add, it's 1 teaspoon, that's going to give you that lovely smoky sort of flavour. 1/2 teaspoon just goes in, just like that. Then I've got a little bit of turmeric. That's going to turn it a nice orangey sort of colour, right? But more importantly, as I've mentioned before, if you suffer with joint pain, then turmeric is one of those fashionable sort of spices at the moment, because it's a natural anti-inflammatory. However, whenever you use turmeric, to aid the absorption, you must make sure that you add just a little bit of black pepper, right? Just to aid that absorption. The last ones that we've got are the obligatory ones. Rather than adding a clove of garlic, I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of my garlic granules. So they go in there, really cheap, last in the cupboard for a good month, right? I've got some mixed herbs going in, and then finally, just because, I've got a little bit of parsley, right? So once you've got all of that just there, I can pop that just behind me, just like that, and I can give that a really good mix. Now comes, right, the blending. You can either pop it into a little blender to make your sauce. I'm going to use this little hand whisk, and you can put it into a little food processor. If you've got one of those smoothie makers, you can put it into a smoothie maker, however you want to do it. I'm going to do it by hand, so there's going to be some noise now. You might need to add a little bit of extra water, but you can always add more, but you can't take any out. So bear with me just 1 second. I'm just going to blitz this up like that. Just so. And you can see that that has all blended together. However, you can see that just there, right? We need it a little bit more saucy. So I'm just going to add just a little bit more sort of water, because we don't want a runny sauce, but we want it to be fairly sort of pourable sort of sauce. So I'm just going to pop that just there. There we go. So that is nearly done. There's no point in me talking when that's on, right? So we've got that just there, and you can see we've got our delicious sort of sauce just there, and I promise you this is absolutely delicious when it's over the pasta, right? So we've got that just there. The last thing is we have then got our little pasta. Now there's two ways of doing this. You could put the pasta straight into the sauce, or what I like to do, because I'm always thinking, well, if I did this with children in a school or at home or anywhere like that, how would I get them to do it, right? They could be preparing and cutting up the cooked butternut squash. Then you could give them a little pot with their own, because as we know, if children take ownership of what they're eating, they're more likely to want to eat it, right? So they can have their own little pot. Then you can put on a little bit of your sauce just as so, and all that they then need to do is using the back of a spoon or a fork or anything like that, they can just literally just mix that round to make sure that everything is covered, all that pasta, macaroni is covered in that delicious sauce, right? And this sauce is really, really sweet from the butternut squash, and also it's got a really creamy sort of texture, right? So we've got that just as so going on there. In actual fact, I might just add a little bit more sauce because I want it a bit more saucy. So I'm just going to pop those on just as so, right? The last thing that we've then got is we have got our cheese. And what I've got just here, and I stupidly threw the packet away before I realised that I needed it, is I've got some dairy-free sort of cheese just there. So if you're doing non-gluten-free and non-dairy-free, use sort of cheddar cheese, which a mature flavoured cheddar cheese. This is dairy-free sort of cheese. One quantity just there, so that's about 30 grams, which is equal to about an ounce. That can go on top just like that. So half that cheese goes on both of those just like that, right? I can then give that a mix in, and then we can sprinkle the rest of the cheese sort of over, so you have a lovely crunchy sort of topping, right? So I'm just going to give that just a little mix just as so. I can then, as I said, make a lovely sort of cheesy sort of topping. So I'm just going to get a little bit more, pop a tiny amount more sort of cheese on top just as so. And then, as you know, the last thing that we've got is my parsley. Before it goes in the oven, I like to put a little bit of parsley on, because it always looks better when it's got that parsley on, right? And then that cheese will melt when it goes in the oven or under the grill, and I promise you this is absolutely delicious. So this is my macaroni, dairy-free and gluten-free macaroni cheese made with butternut squash, right? I'm going to pop that into the oven now. I've got a hot grill over there. Bear with me one sec. I'm just going to grab myself a little baking tray. So I've got a little baking tray just there. I've got a very hot grill just there. So these are going to cook in sort of real time in approximately 2 to 3 minutes. And by the time I've made our little salad, I've got this will be ready. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that just into my oven just there, and I can feel the heat coming from my little oven, and I'm just going to pop all of those bits just into there. Now, just whilst I am cleaning down, as you know, if you have got any comments on today's recipe or any questions about what we're doing as part of the Happy Cymru cook-alongs, then please pop them into the comments page, and either myself or one of the Happy team will happily answer those comments for you. They have also got a questionnaire that they would like to do. If you haven't had chance to complete it as yet, then please do complete it. I'm hoping that someone from the Happy team has taken the hint and is now putting the link onto the page for you just underneath the comments. If you haven't, then I can pop those on afterwards. So let me just wipe my table area over, and I will be back in the room, because we're going to today serve our little sort of dairy and gluten-free butternut squash sort of mac and cheese. Couldn't remember what I was making. Trying to talk while I'm doing two things at once. See, with a little side salad. You could serve it with I don't know, some steamed vegetables, but I quite like the idea of a side salad, right? So I've got for my side salad, I've already done my little bit of preparation. I've got some lettuce just there. I've got some peppers and onions, and I got some tomato that we're going to pop on. But what I wanted to show you was very, very quickly, just while I'll just turn that down just a little bit. That's cooking off nicely, is how to make a really quick salad dressing. I know I've shown you how to make this many, many times, but it's always good to sort of recap. All that you need to remember, as you know, when you make a little salad dressing, is you need 2 parts oil to 1 part vinegar. Okay, vinegar or some sort of acid, so it could be lemon juice, lime juice, or anything like that, right? So I'm gonna do it in my little jam jar today, which is how I do it in the house as well, particularly in the summer when you're looking and eating more salads anyway. It's great to have this little jar of dressing ready to go, right? So you're not reaching for the Mary Berry's very expensive salad dressing, right? All you're reaching for is your homemade sort of salad dressing. So I put 4 tablespoons of oil just in there. So that means that I need 2 spoonfuls of vinegar. I'm using balsamic sort of vinegar this afternoon. So we're making a little balsamic dressing. I've then got my other flavourings, right? So I'm just going to use some of these little herbs just there. I've got some of my trusty sort of mixed herbs, just a little bit of that. And you can make whatever dressing you sort of want, right? I've got my garlic. Traditionally, we would crush the garlic and then make it into a little paste with some salt, but we're not trying to add too much salt. So that's why we're adding all of these other flavours. I've got a little bit of smoked sort of paprika, so that's going to give it another really nice flavour. If you wanted to add some mustard, that would be the chance. Now would be the chance to do it as well. I've got some black pepper just there as well. So a little bit of black pepper goes on top. And basically, you're now going to create a little emulsion, right? And if you've got kids, this is great to do with them, because all that you're going to do is just shake it up just like that, and you end up with a wonderful little salad dressing, right? And as time goes on, it'll separate, but every time you need it, you just shake it, and then you can pour it over your salad, and you don't need a huge amount, right? So it's really, really quick and easy, but really, really tasty. So I'll show you that in a couple of moments, but I've got my little plate just there, which is boiling hot, so I'm just going to go and grab another plate from over here, which is cold, otherwise that will wilt. And then let me just grab my little macaroni cheeses. Oh, these look absolutely fantastic, and you can see that cheese is melted. It's all lovely and cooked. The top part of the macaroni has started to crisp up, and it really does smell absolutely delicious, right? So I'm just going to allow that to cool just for a couple of moments. I need to grab myself a little serving spoon. So I'm going to serve just a sort of half portion today. So I'm just going to pull that out just as so. I'm hoping and trying to do it as nicely sort of as possible, and it smells absolutely fantastic, right? So you've got that little gluten and dairy-free butternut squash mac and cheese just there. As I said, I'm going to serve it with a little side salad today. So let me just pop that just on just as so. I've then got, get rid of that bit, I've then got my little bit of red onion. So this is where we're starting to increase that fruit and vegetable content now, right? So a portion that fits into the palm of your hand will help towards your 5 a day. So we're trying to build up those quantities. So I'm going to pop some tomato just on there, just like that. So I've got those bits just on there. I'm going to replace that one just there. I can use the rest when I serve the other one later. And the last thing that I've got is I've just got my little salad dressing just here. I can take out a little spoonful. You can see that it's lovely and sort of thick. You don't need a huge amount. And I'm just going to drizzle that over, just get a little bit more, just so they're able to see it, over like that. And then, as I said, I can then put that in the fridge ready for the next time I want a little salad dressing. And there you have your gluten and dairy-free butternut squash mac and cheese with a lovely little Italian sort of side salad as well. Well, I hope that you have enjoyed today's cook along. It's been wonderful showing you how to make all of these this recipe today. We will be back next week. I can't actually remember what we are doing off the top of my head. Oh, I know what we're doing. It's dementia friendly recipes next week. It's afternoon tea for dementia friends. So we're going to be doing some afternoon tea recipes on the Monday. So you'll be welcome to come and join and have a cuppa, and we're going to be making some wonderful little afternoon tea sort of nibbles, and also some Victoria sponge sort of muffins as well. So I'm glad I remembered that. So all that leaves for me to say is diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much for watching this afternoon. Don't forget that all the recipe cards are available on the Facebook page as well as our website. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much for watching, and coginio hapus.